Welcome into this Monday morning edition, the Oxford Exxon podcast. Parham and Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio here with you today. We will discuss Ole Miss basketball surviving Missouri on Saturday evening at the Pavilion. It was looking a little rough for the Rebels there. That would have been a devastating blow to their NCAA tournament chances. They pull it out. Win by 3 there against the SEC winless Tigers. The baseball team started okay. Kind of a fun, interesting night on Friday night, going all the way to the wee hours of Saturday morning. They win the first game of a 7-inning doubleheader, and then they fall apart, getting outscored 22-5 over 2 games and 16 innings against the Rainbow Warriors. 2-2 headed back to Oxford, and a weekend that frankly looked a lot like last season. So we'll get into that a little bit as well with you here today. A show brought to you every day by the Oxford Exxon Highway 6 West in Oxford. You know by now, we've been telling you, they got their new superstore open in Macomb, that Blue Sky location. It's got fancy sinks, got Sweet Daddy's barbecue, got tons of options. If you're in the area, stop in. Has everything you're looking for in a convenience store, gas station, and more there in Macomb. Again, up and down I-55 throughout North Mississippi as well. Lunch specials here local, beer cave here local with the Oxford Exxon, and much more. And again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is that number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. There's no hassle. There's no haggle. You can get your quote. The rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around, or you can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today, 662-257-1900. You'll love the product. You'll love the service. Corey and the people at Clark Ford, they want to be your car guy. They want to be your truck guy. They'll prove to you what that means when you make the call. Again, 662-257-1900. Guest will join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. The Campbell Clinic is in Oxford now, 2608 South Lamar Boulevard, Suite 102, just across the street from the cottages at Hooper Hollow. The Campbell Clinic provides full-service orthopedic care. Everything from sports medicine to foot and ankle surgery to spine and total joint care to pediatric orthopedics, physical therapy, and more. To book an appointment, go to campbellclinicoxford.com or call 901-759-3111. Walk-ins always welcome at the Campbell Clinic, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m.
I'm not even talking about this today, so it's probably a really bad pod to open up with it. But did you see that story over the weekend that offensive numbers in college football were actually down? I never would have predicted that.
I did not see that.
Did you not? Yeah, we'll tease it for tomorrow. I'll go find it. But yeah, I was seeing. It just struck me when I was looking for something else. Numbers apparently are down on offense. Actually, defenses are winning more than in past seasons, and that would not have been what I had in my head.
Not surprising though, if you think about the basic. There's a basic theme that's begun to emerge in football circles. If you talk to coaches, and that is. I don't even want to dive into it. We'll dive into it tomorrow. It's
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Offensive line play versus defensive line play, and it's a byproduct of
one is getting better and one is getting worse.
Yeah, it's a byproduct of some of the things that are happening at the root level of the sport.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. So
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that will be. People will argue about it. The people that are stubborn will argue about it, but that's. If you talk to a lot of coaches, that's what they'll tell you.
I did not take a sponsored trip to Hawaii. That did not make sense on a number of levels there, and especially considering how things went for the Rebels there on the island of Oahu.
That'd be an awfully expensive sponsor.
You kind of go, hey, what could we do with that same amount as the year moves forward? Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
That would be, hey, there's things that make sense and things that don't. And then there's things that really don't.
Gribe with a good point, too. Running clock, killing the offense more this past season. Every team lost 5 to 8 plays, something like that, over the course of that clock change. No. We'll get to baseball in a little bit, but yeah, no, was not doing that. I did stay up for the entire game on Friday night. I think Neil was in bed before the first pitch. Not that you needed to watch it anyway, but I think you said you were out before 10:35.
Yeah, I watched. So I can't make fun of all you college baseball people. I watched the Rising Stars Challenge.
Ooh.
Watched game 1, and I watched game 2, and I was trying to stay up to watch the third and final game. for the championship, the vaunted championship, the cherished championship of the Rising Stars Challenge. And I fell asleep, woke up to my wife yelling my name, going, go to bed, you're asleep, go to bed. I guess I was waiting up. No, I guess I was waiting up for Carson. I don't know, but I went to bed. So yeah, I did not see a pitch or hear a pitch of Ole Miss Hawaii baseball. I depended on you for my information purposes.
So I was, I had spent the day and I was kind of just clowning around on Twitter because I was bored and I was having fun. I was like, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do caffeine-wise? Because as you and I talked about last week, I did want to. It was for a couple of different reasons. One, it was the only game of the weekend that was streamed. And then two, it's the opener. I'm curious to see them, all that kind of stuff. And I said, I really would like to make as much of this game as possible. What do we do from a caffeine standpoint? And I was considering all my different possibilities there. And I achieved my objective, but I got too caffeinated is what happened. So and you're going to nod along and go, you idiot here, as I tell the story. I popped a peach rainstorm at 9:30, I believe.
So a peach nectarine rainstorm at 9:30. So that's about 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Somewhere in there. And I was fine, but I'll be honest, I just wanted coffee. I don't know if I needed it, but I went, hey, I'm just sitting here, I'm not doing anything. About the top of the third, maybe. So we're talking 11:20-ish. I had 1 cup of coffee.
Okay.
It was some type of Starbucks blend and an espresso. I don't know what it was.
Probably another 100 milligrams.
Okay. So I'm kind of hanging out. Like, I'm pretty okay. I'm awake. We do the game. I start playing. And what I do, though, and you'll get this, I'm counting backwards. Because I'm going, okay, no matter what, I'm not sleeping overly in here. So as this game goes on and on and on and on, it's not about staying awake. It is less sleep and less sleep and less sleep that I'm going to get because I'm going to be awake in the morning no matter what. And as we got into the 13th inning, I was thinking, I have a problem here because I could feel that artificial awake, like the caffeine, where you're not really jittery, but you're going, I should be more tired than this. This is not a good thing. The game ends. I had joked with Richard Cross on Twitter about going to Waffle House when the game ends. I think he was actually game because he sent me a text. He goes, hey, I am hungry. Do you want to go? And I'm like, I can't go to Waffle House at 4 a.m. after not sleeping. I feel like we probably need to put the head on the pillow at this point. It took about 25 minutes to go to sleep, though, at least, because I was just kind of caffeinated at that point. And I woke up before 6. So I think I slept about an hour and a half Friday night going into Saturday. I lay down for a little while on Saturday afternoon. I don't think I even fell asleep, but I just kind of rested my eyes and hung out.
Just FYI, I don't know whether it's on your end or mine, but you kind of went in and out there for a second.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. No idea. Are you hearing me okay now?
Yeah, I hear you fine. I'm guessing it's on your end because I've closed audio audition out on mine completely.
Okay. I mean, we'll see what the file looks like. I'll check it.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, we're not. I will say this for people in the stream: we're not synced right now because I'm hearing Neil's words before the picture is coming in. So there definitely is a little bit of glitch somewhere in an internet situation. So just everybody be aware of that as we're talking. But I guess my final point on that, and then we will move ahead to basketball and other things, is I oddly felt pretty good on Saturday. I went to the basketball game, and I had multiple people walk up and go, "Hey, are you alive? How much do you sleep? It's whatever. Are you all right?" And it was like I'm oddly okay. I feel pretty good. Slept really hard on Saturday night, and I've been pretty good from there. But I did kind of pull the dad move to say I just rested my eyes, but it's true. I don't nap, but I did close my eyes and kind of just get sort of recentered a little bit, and it's all good. I hope none of you people were hit by the. Go ahead.
There's a lot of benefit from a 15-minute power nap, though. Seriously.
But you have to go to sleep.
You can take a 15. You do. You got to lay down and turn off. Put your phone away. Give yourself 15, 20 minutes to actually sleep a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the issue. Is the actual going to sleep. But Either way, did that, felt good, fine. I hope none of you got hit by the scam links. I saw some people were floating around that you could watch the game on Saturday with some random link on the internet. I know some people kind of put their credit card information in before they checked that, so hopefully none of you got caught up in that. But if it is not a link that the university puts out, do not click on it, because there are plenty of people that go, oh yeah, stream right here, and then you're like off in the dark web, and they've got your social security number and your credit card and all sort of stuff at that point. You are officially done. That is correct at that point. So anyway, we'll get to baseball later. Basketball, again, Rebels knocking off Missouri 79-76. Weird environment in the first half, frankly. Quiet, was not overly compelling in any way. I think Missouri was up 3 at the break. They extended that into double digits there early in the second half, if I have that right. I guess, Neil, just kind of take me through it a little bit. What were you sort of thinking as the game was going on?
Yeah, I left early because I was the last couple of times I didn't leave early. There was a lot of traffic, and I sat in it, and so there was really no traffic. I got in. They ended up having a decent environment. It wasn't packed. But there were a lot of people there. It was a bigger crowd than they've had in recent seasons for a game like that. I thought the team was oddly sort of flat. The first half, they didn't play particularly well. They couldn't build a lead against Missouri. Missouri led by 3 at the half. And it's a Missouri team that hasn't won an SEC game. And so I kind of expected in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second half that Ole Miss would come out, that they'd kind of fix a couple of things and go on a run. And that's not what happened. Instead, Missouri built a 10-point lead. And right. And so I started the 2-column thing. I started the column on the comeback, and I started a column on that's it. It's over. Because it was over if you lose. I never tweet in games. I don't understand the people who do 400 tweets during a basketball game. You're just giving – there's no reason for anybody to read your wrap-up at that point. But I did do a one tweet at like 10 minutes to go, and it's like, hey, here's your season. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is it. You lose to Missouri at home with a net of 150, whatever it was. There's really no realistic path. People were going to argue, well, you could still do this. Okay, yeah, but what are you seeing that makes you think that's going to happen? The goal of this team is obviously to make the NCAA tournament, and to do it, they had to beat Missouri at home, period. And so that was the pivotal moment, and sure enough, in those next 4 minutes, they did it. They erased the deficit. They built it could have really been costly. They escaped it. They got away. Their net's in the mid 60s right now, and so they're 6-6 in the league. I think they have to get to 10-8. There are people who will argue with you almost to the point of like they act like they want to throw fists about it. I'm like, dude, it doesn't mean this much to me. It's okay. Who say 9-9? The problem at 9-9 is that if you say that the wins are at Missouri, at Georgia, and home versus Texas A&M, for example, is that enough to get your net to a spot where you get into the tournament? Mm-hmm. And the answer may be yes. I don't know. 10 wins means that you include those wins with a win either at Mississippi State, home versus South Carolina, or home versus Alabama, and that gives you another kind of resume win that I think would get your net out of the 60s and maybe into the low 50s, where I think you're good to go at 10 wins. But look, they got to play better. We can do this thing about wins and net and bubbles and last 4 in and first 4 out and all that stuff till you blue in the face, and we probably will because we do our daily podcast. But Chase, if they don't play better on the defensive end here pretty damn soon, it's not going to matter. Because you still got to go to Missouri. They're going to play you now. They don't want to go 0-18. They're going to circle you and go, that's a game we could have had. We lost by 3 points. Trailed by 1 point with 10 seconds left, whatever it was. That's a game we can get. Mike White's team, there's no sign of quit in his team. I've watched Georgia a bunch. I like Mike. I've known Mike for a long time. So when his team's on, I'll watch them. And they're not particularly talented yet, but they continue to play hard. They're going to circle that game. They don't want to go 0 for the rest of the way. Mississippi State's going to want to kick Ole Miss's ass on Wednesday night. They always do. It's going to be like I told you, it's going to be an aggressive crowd in Starkville. They're going to be ready to play. It's a late game. People are going to be geeked up. They lost in Oxford in a game that I'm sure they look back and think that's one we could have won. And they're going to want to beat Ole Miss's ass. And then on Saturday, they're going to play a South Carolina team that's reeling a little bit right now. They just lost to LSU. They're going to want to get going again. South Carolina's net is not great. It keeps kind of falling. They need a good road win. They're going to be ready to play against Ole Miss. There's just – and Alabama's legitimately a Final Four contender. To 10. Frankly, there's not an easy path to 9. Texas A&M at home is going to be a difficult challenge. That's a team that's been a little bit inconsistent by his stand. Tennessee double digits at home, and they're going to want to avenge the loss to Ole Miss in College Station. They're going to be up. So the bottom line is they have to start playing better. And for whatever reason, they look a little, I don't know, they look a little flat. They look like they've lost some confidence. They're missing assignments on the defensive side. Excuse me. They rebounded the ball fairly well the other night. They shot the ball fine. They shot the 3 ball well enough to stay in the game. That's what saved them. So they're doing some things well. It's not a total disaster or anything, but they're going to have to play better here soon. They've got to hit another gear, or it's going to get problematic.
Yeah, it was figuring out what that word is you're saying that when I was watching it on Saturday night, because I thought their ball movement, I thought their off-ball movement was really bad in the first half. I was going, is it flat? Is it tired? Like, what is it? It just kind of seemed lethargic in all those different ways. And in different elements of different games, it's kind of happened several games in a row now. They just look like a team that's been through a long season, if we're honest. Like, it just seems a little off considering what you need here as you're going on this run. Because, yeah, I guess it was you and I talking about it yesterday morning. They got the win. They stayed alive. That's job one. I get all that. And we're going to whatever. If they play that game, there's no guaranteed win left on the schedule. Forget 4 of them where you got to get to 10 or 3 if you got to get to 9 or whatever you got to do in Nashville on a neutral site as well. Because, yeah, I mean, their metrics are bad and all those different things, but it's just completely how they're playing. I mean, I watched that game and went, you're really lucky and fortunate that it was Missouri on the other side as you had that effort the other night, because there might not be another team in the league that you would have been able to come back from 10 or 11 or whatever that was there in the second half when it got as high as it could go. It's just, it's kind of who they are right now, that everything kind of feels that way, and I don't know. I guess I'm fascinated in this team just to see, hey, is it something that can be overcome, or is it just kind of what they have left in the tank at this moment?
Well, I mean, they're not super talented. They don't have a true point guard. Their bigs are not offensive weapons. One of their bigs gets played off the court defensively. They've had some foul trouble issues. They get a couple of guys are inconsistent offensively. It's conceivable that they're just kind of hitting a talent ceiling. That it's just hard. They're scouted now. The coaching in this league, even the bad teams in this league, right? Look around the league on Saturday. LSU's one of the lower tier teams. They go to South Carolina and win. Georgia's one of the lower tier teams. They really gave Florida all they wanted. Arkansas is a bad team. They go to Mississippi State and are in it in the final minute of the game. Everybody, the point of that is that all of the coaching in this league is pretty damn good. And everyone scouts. Everyone finds your weakness and they just hammer it. It's like in baseball, right? Where Ole Miss has played 4 games. Once they've played 10, 12 games and everybody has watched the film and scouted them, whatever holes are in people's swings, people are going to start hammering those holes. It's just how it works. You either will adjust or you'll fail. And so there's some of that happening now. People have really scouted Jalen Murray. They're putting bigger guards on him. He's having a harder They're doing a really good job still with Matthew Morrell. Turnover battle, I think 13-8, which was one of the reasons Missouri stayed in the game. There's just a lot there, and they're going to practice. They're going to try to fix it. This is a big week. They've got to win one of these two games. They can't go 0 for 2 this week. They can go 1-1 and get to 7-7 going into next week, and you can still point at it and say it's still doable, and that would be absolutely true. But this feels like kind of a big week because if they don't play better, the schedule is such where they could lose a couple in a row.
Yeah, Saturday night, Missouri 19-5 on points off turnovers. You were correct. 13-8 on turnovers, 19-5 on points off. Ole Miss, saved as they have been a lot of the season from 3. They shoot over 50%. They ended up 52% from 3 on Saturday night as a team. So anyway, we'll continue. Go ahead.
I mean that means that's a good sign. That means that you're still creating open looks on offense. They're not making wild thrown in threes where you're like, I can't believe that went in. No, they're getting good shots. They're moving the basketball. They're getting good shots. Morrell, I think he was 6 for 9 or something like that from 3. And that means you're getting really good shots if you're making 67% of your threes. They're getting in rhythm shots. They're taking good shots. There's a lot there, but like in the first half, I will get off this because we're beating this game to death, but it's a sign of what I'm talking about. In the first half, they settled for threes over and over and over. They didn't take a free throw. And there was at no point where I thought, man, the officiating in this game sucks. I never thought that. I actually thought the game was fairly well officiated. And in the second half, you could tell they made it a point. We've got to move the ball into the paint. We've got to create. We've got to get to the free throw line. We've got to do some things. And they did. They shot 30 free throws in the second half. Now, some of that was because Missouri was trying to extend the game late, and they got a bunch of free throws in the final couple minutes. They made them. It was a good sign. But they can't wait until the second half to create paint touches. You're not going to win high-level SEC games by just shooting the 3 ball. That's just probably not going to do it.
Yeah. So we will continue the basketball conversation. We'll look around the league as well at this point. Neil, do me a favor. We're fine on the stream. X out of this, go back in the link again. Let's just reset you. I think it'll fix your camera and sync you back up. So just leave and come back, and I'll put you back in.
All right.
Yep. While Neil is doing that, let me tell you about Factor. They are delicious, ready-to-eat meals. They make eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. What are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. 2-minute meals, fuel up fast with the restaurant-quality meals that are ready to heat and eat wherever you are. You can sign up and save. They've done the math. It's less expensive than takeout, and every meal is dietitian approved as well. They are the perfect solution for looking for fast upscale options done easily. Flexible schedule, 16, 18 meals a week, no prep, no mess meals, 100% ready to heat and eat. So go to factormeals.com/MPW50. Use code MPW50 to get 50% off. That's MPW50 at factormeals.com/MPW50 again to get 50% off.
Are you retiring soon? How long should you wait to take Social Security? What accounts should you pull from first? Are you already retired? Should you consider Roth conversions? These are just some of the questions that can only be answered with the personalized retirement income plan. Andrew Seago with Seago Wealth Management specializes in helping people just like you come up with their retirement game plan. Whether you meet at his office in Collierville or prefer Zoom from anywhere, schedule a free discovery meeting and see what they can do for you. It's rebelsretire.com. Brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, same great products and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call Southern 662-429-4429. A-Stock is a Nashville-based online retail company with the mission to provide customers the power to name their price. All items start at just $1. That's right. Every item starts at just $1, no matter what the retail value may be. It's astock.bid. That's ASTOCK.BID. Ole Miss baseball at home this week, Wednesday, and then again this weekend. So if you need to get the latest jerseys or hats or whatever gear you want to head out to Swayze, stop by the College Corner in Oxford. It's right off of Sisk Avenue in the Oxford Commons. More than 4,000 square feet of the best Rebel gear. Plenty of parking available. Their staff's going to have you in and out and ready for Swayze in no time. Also, don't forget 2 locations in the Jackson area, and you can go online, collegecornerstore.com. And we're brought to you by Argent Wealth. Argent, based in Ridgeland, Mississippi. They represent clients in more than 20 states. They provide detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Argent, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Argent will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan built just for you. It's myargentwealth.com. And we're brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you're thinking about planning a special trip that you want to create a lifetime of unique memories, get in touch with John. Give him some parameters. Give him a budget. He's going to give you options that you're not going to find on your own. And no, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net.
So, again, Ole Miss knocks off Missouri 79-76 in that one. They moved to 19-6 overall, 6-6 in the SEC. Missouri, as Neal mentioned, still winless, 0-12 in the SEC, 8-17 overall for a team that was in the tournament a year ago. Tennessee did what was expected. They hammer Vanderbilt 88-53 on Saturday. The Vols 9-3 in the SEC, 19-6 overall. Vanderbilt 2-10 in the SEC, 7-18 overall. And then a bad week got even worse. It was a free shot in the midweek for South Carolina, not so much at home. LSU gets to 5-7. He's done a nice job there to keep them engaged. 64-63 in Columbia, South Carolina over the Gamecocks. South Carolina still 9-4, 21 wins. They're going to be in the tournament, but Neal, you and I talked about it prior to Ole Miss playing them. That was a team that was going to regress to the mean a little bit. It was a team that was going to have those days where they did not look like the record entailed. And, I mean, look, Ole Miss missed a huge opportunity, and then LSU gets them. I mean, if I had to put some over-under on South Carolina, they could flounder down the stretch, and that makes Saturday in Oxford just a complete must-win for the Rebels.
100%. Have to win it. I mean, I'm assuming a loss to Mississippi State, but even if you beat Mississippi State, you need to beat South Carolina. It's a game that they have to win. It's a game that they should win, frankly. South Carolina got off to a great start. They won a bunch of games early in the league play. They have come back to earth. People have scouted them. People know how to defend them a little bit better. It's a game that Saturday afternoon Ole Miss has to win, and I'm fascinated. We'll talk about it over the week. I am fascinated to see what the environment looks and feels like on Saturday because there's a baseball game that kind of goes up against it. And I think the weather's going to be decent. And it's that time of year that little Johnny's got baseball tournaments. The club soccer season gets rolling again this week. I'm sure there are softball tournaments all over the place. People have stuff going on the weekends again in the spring. And that kind of starts this weekend. I mean, everybody's got, I bet there's 8 gazillion baseball tournaments all over Mississippi. I know there's a soccer tournament or 2 around North Mississippi. I'm guessing that softball's the same way, and dance recitals and everything else that people have going on in the spring. You've got to be able to captivate an audience, and there's only so much audience to go around. And I'm curious to see what that feels like on Saturday.
Yeah, Ole Miss baseball, 12 o'clock against High Point on Saturday. Ole Miss basketball, 2:30 against South Carolina. So anyone double dipping would have to leave baseball 6th inning or so to get over for tip against the Gamecocks there at the Pavilion. And the weather, as of now, Neal and I looked at it yesterday, somewhere in the mid-60s for first pitch for that game on Saturday. So yeah, definitely good weather for the Rebels there in that one. Kentucky, college game day at Auburn. Auburn's got the festivities at Neville Arena there. Tough place to play, as we're aware of. Kentucky just kind of pops them. They play maybe their best game of the season, probably their best game of the season. and they knock off the Tigers 70-59 there in Auburn. I did not see any of this, Neil. Did you watch it? And what do we make of it? What does it mean either way?
Kentucky played really, 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 really well. Probably had their best game. Auburn had Jalen Williams went down. I think he's going to miss a couple of weeks. Auburn didn't play its best game. Kentucky did. Kentucky, you knew they weren't going to be intimidated by an environment. Everywhere they go, they get great environments. And the Auburn environment is awesome. They just give them credit. They answered the bell. They played a really good game. They kind of had two really good games last week. They dominate Ole Miss. They dominate Auburn. Maybe they figured it out. They clearly have the chip on their shoulder, and the Kentucky media has been all over them. And Calipari's pissed off at the media, and he's taking up for his players, and all of that stuff. And it was just kind of perfect storm. They probably would have beaten anybody in the country on Saturday.
Is he legitimately mad at the media, or are we just doing the Cal, I'm going to yell and scream and be frustrated thing?
Probably both. It's probably an act, and there probably is some legitimate frustration. I mean, he has a little bit. Sometimes it feels like a king complex, like, you know, I'm the king of the castle. How dare you question what we do? And then there's just that part of that media that they're so engaged in all of it that everyone dissects every little thing that happens. It's different, you know. I mean, when you go coach,
but you signed up for it, and you get all the positives for it too.
Yeah. And so, you know, when you're winning, it's just awesome. And when you're losing, everyone is coming up with 8,000 reasons for you to be losing other than, hey, the other team's good too. And it's all part of it. And they had some bad losses where they didn't play very well. And they had that home loss to Gonzaga that got everybody all worked up. And but since then, they've played really well. Now, it's just 2 games. Can they continue it and go on some run to play for the national title? I doubt it, but we'll see. But they played really well at Auburn. That was Auburn's first loss at home all season, first loss at home in a while. I mean, Kentucky just played really, really well. They would love to bottle that and play that way night in and night out.
I mean, they actually defended and stuff. It was kind of crazy. They played defense. As mentioned in the stream, Auburn 4 for 22 from 3. That's not going to win a lot of games, especially against Kentucky, because they have talent. Alabama just blitzed Texas A&M 100-75 in Tuscaloosa. Bama now 10-2 in the SEC. A&M 6-6 in the SEC. Alabama 18-7 overall. Nothing really to say about it. Alabama is very elite offensively. They can outscore anybody, and they're going to be a tough out when tournament time comes.
Period. They stress you offensively, and they go on a run, and they build a double-digit lead, and then it's just really hard to catch them. You have to be sort of perfect on offense, and you have to hope that they miss. And they're a team that, like a lot of teams, that once they start scoring, it's really hard to stop them. And they can do it in so many different ways with so many different people. And then they're not bad on defense either. I mean, Oates is a defense coach. And when I say that, I mean he's an effort guy. You got to play on that end of the court. So they make a stop here and there, and A&M's a good team, but they just had no chance in Tuscaloosa.
2 games that went as expected, and they kind of both survived in different ways, but I'm not taking a ton from either one of them. Florida 88-82 over Georgia and Athens. Again, Athens is very winnable for Ole Miss if they play well there. Mike White's team has struggled to find wins. They're now 4-8 in the SEC. Florida 8-4. They're about ready to punch their ticket. They're in great shape metrically and record-wise right now under Todd Golden. And then Mississippi State surviving Arkansas 71-67 in Starkville on Saturday. Considering what's going on with them, Arkansas played pretty well, but State does get the win. They're now 6-6 in the SEC, 17-8 overall, and Arkansas 3-9. State is sitting there with pretty good metrics, but kind of in a lump with Ole Miss, where you're trying to make a move and make sure you're having a chance, given overall wins. It's a big game Wednesday in Starkville.
It is. No, look, Florida just does what it does lately, and that's they play well, and Georgia made a run or two, and Florida just kind of held on and did its thing. And got a W. And then the one in Starkville was interesting because, look, there's a lot happening around Arkansas. There are strong rumors about Eric Musselman and the Louisville job to the point that I think most who follow the sport believe that he is the next coach at Louisville. That news has absolutely made its way to Fayetteville, which makes me think that it's probably made its way inside the locker room. That's not the happiest, most congenial collegial team that you've ever watched, and yet they had a real shot to beat Mississippi State on Saturday, and that's probably fairly alarming for Chris Jans and that staff. That is a game that you should win comfortably. Earlier in the week, Arkansas got blown out by Tennessee, if I recall correctly. It was never even competitive. And, they don't really have anything to play for. They're not going to the tournament. The coach is probably leaving. There's going to be a mass exodus of players after the season, and then they take you to the final minute. I think had a lead with 2 minutes to go. That's probably fairly alarming. And if you're Ole Miss, look, you can erase a lot of this narrative by going to Starkville and winning. You go there and win, and suddenly it's a different tune when we get together on Thursday morning. No question. So Wednesday's opportunity. Mm-hmm. You've already won. You already beat them once. So if you lose, it's like, okay, you split the season series like it happens 99 times out of 100.
Yeah. This
is opportunity for you. The pressure's on them, no doubt. And, their metrics are pretty good. It would be a quad one win. It's right there for you. It's go get it, because they're not playing great basketball right now. Hubbard is gritty as hell, and he finds ways to score, and they've got some bigs that can do some things, but that's probably a little alarming for them that Saturday was as close as it was against not only a kind of a distracted Arkansas team, but an Arkansas team that's not particularly good. That had to alarm you a little bit.
Seeing from the stream saying Gary Parrish believes Nate Oates might be a candidate at Ohio State, would get a call, and that he would likely leave. If so, they played really hard in the first game without Chris Holtman on Saturday. It was just yesterday, not Saturday, Sunday. I got pretty into that. I watched the last 12 minutes or so. Ohio State did knock off number 2 Purdue in Columbus yesterday. They led the majority of the game. They had a double-digit lead there for a while, and then kind of held on late with some free throws and some jump shots and whatnot. Nobody alerted the officials that Purdue had earned extra whistles yesterday, so it was a fairly evenly called game there in Columbus, and Ohio State did pull it off. I was very upset that it appeared that Greg Doyle was covering the All-Star game in Indianapolis, and not the Ohio State-Purdue game. I was looking for all those takes, and I got none. Apparently we go kind of silent when the team is losing that you cover. So I don't know. I couldn't find much there on the old Twitter machine with Greg. But
so, if a Purdue Tennessee NCAA tournament game, how would you handle that emotionally?
Vols, go Vols. Yeah, no, go. Hey, here's my problem with that, and it's why everybody calls me like this curmudgeon and whatnot. And I get it. It's fine. It's sport dependent, though. Like, Tennessee basketball, other than Wes, doesn't really bother me. Like, I like Rick Barnes all right. Like, I for whatever reason, I find myself not pulling for them in a vacuum, but depending on who they play, I go, yeah, fine. I'm good with Tennessee winning. That's not the same as the football-baseball thing.
That's interesting. I'm the exact same way. I catch myself in football cheering against them, mm-hmm. and baseball cheering against them. But in basketball, I find their team to be fairly likable.
I do too.
And so I'm not like sitting there decked out in orange going, go Vols, let's go. But on the same hand, I kind of catch myself fairly happy for their players when they win. For whatever reason, I have no idea why. I don't know them. But I like the way they play. They play hard. They don't play dirty. I don't know. It's kind of like their team. I like Rick Barnes. Every interaction I've ever had with Rick Barnes has been very positive. He's been nothing but a gentleman to me when he has every reason in the world to be like, I don't know who you are, leave me alone. So I kind of catch myself for them, but in the other sports, I cheer for their demise without realizing that I'm doing it, with no real motivation for that either.
I think they're going to be really, really good at baseball. So if they're going to bother you on Twitter, just be prepared for that. We'll get to baseball after the next break, but I was flipping through and watching some stuff over the weekend and trying to just catch a few innings here or there with different teams, and I watched some Tennessee and went, ooh, I don't know, that looks pretty damn good. I'll be honest. Outside the SEC, Wake Forest is definitely real too. They're number 1 in the country, and that's real over there. They added Chase Burns, speaking of Tennessee, to that rotation, and they're legitimate in Winston-Salem. So anyway,
I don't know if
just prepare.
I think Pitching Ninja had a catcher's view of Burns pitching, and I mean he's still at 101, and then he's got the movement on the slider that. If you guess fastball and he throws the slider, you're not hitting it. I don't care who you are. You're not hitting it. It's impossible. I don't know if you saw this also. It's worth watching because if you want to be humbled and go, no, I would never hit Major League pitching. The Yamamoto, the new Dodgers pitcher, they put a catcher camera on him, on all of his stuff. The release is exactly the same, and yet the curveball and the fastball are obviously very different pitches, and he throws all these – he can spot the fastball, make the fastball do different things. I don't know how major league hitters don't have severe mental health issues 1/3 of the way through the season. You just can't hit it. You just can't hit it.
It's been the case, and it's even more of a case now that it is the hardest thing to do in professional sports is to hit a baseball for a hit at the highest level, period. It's goofy, and it's getting more goofy as we focus more on velocity and movement and all those different things. It's really the interesting trickle-down effect is that it's hurting us in high school and college because kids don't have that level of ability, and they're doing arms and all kind of stuff, and it's not the way it should be played. But as said on the board this morning, it's not going back because it's what everybody's obsessed with at the highest level, and then you imitate and move up. Speaking of this and Pitching Ninja and whatnot, 2 weeks from now on a Friday night, Ole Miss is going to play Iowa, and Brady Brecht is going to be in town. We mentioned him briefly. We'll talk about him a ton the week of the game, but he's a converted Iowa wide receiver. He was a two-sport player that got frustrated because, as you're aware, Iowa does not throw the football, and he went baseball only. This is his first full offseason, and he got the start on Friday night. It was the most Nuke LaLoosh thing ever. He hit 101 this spring. In his outing, he went 4.1 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, struck out 11, walked 6, and hit a batter. Dig in at your own peril there, bud. Like, we don't know where this damn thing's going.
Cratch Davis, I wouldn't dig in. I don't know where it's going.
No. Yeah, struck out 11, walked 6, hit a guy.
Hey,
1 hit.
Hit the mascot.
Yeah, I mean, I saw his thing and I went, oh, God, that is... Because I guess it was Kendall or somebody, because they're always positive. They go, he was effectively wild. And I went, well, he was. That's true.
But to your point, every Major League scout who watched that walked away going, oh, God, electric. We'll figure out the wild stuff. We'll figure it out. But the 11 strikeouts, the 101, the velocity, that's what they want. Yeah, there's nobody said, no, you know what? This guy's got some control issues. Let's put him down. Nope, everybody's in.
Yeah, so. All right, we'll move on. First, Prime Shrimp, primeshrimp.com. A lot of different flavors for you, including their new soy ginger. Goes great with hibachi-type dishes. Also, their New Orleans-style barbecue is the most popular option. You can get that. And we'll let you get a bunch of different options. They deliver straight to your door. 10 minutes freezer to plate, and if you buy 5 pouches or more, use code RG for 25% off. Again, stock up on your favorites. Try one of everything, whatever you want to do there with Prime Shrimp. They've been giving away shrimp. Again, they gave away shrimp for a year here recently to a Rebel fan. So that is primeshrimp.com. Code RG, 5 pouches or more. Again, that's primeshrimp.com.
Oxford's newest Greek restaurant on the square, Opa, is the perfect place for your company dinner, festive party event. Fabulous food, great craft libations as well. Also make it a part of your weekend if you're coming up this weekend for baseball or whatnot. Stop in at Opa. They can accommodate more than 200 guests. Get in touch with Jeannie, 601-421-7147. Also, don't forget Rafters Music and Food on the square in Oxford. Great place to stop in, have a beer as you, peruse around Oxford over the course of a baseball weekend. We're also brought to you by Service Specialist Staffing and Recruiting Agency, connecting great job opportunities to candidates since 1967. If you're on the job hunt, whether you're seeking an entry-level position or you're a seasoned professional, they have opportunities across the board: IT, engineering, dentistry, accounting, law, manufacturing, human resources, whatever you're looking for, they can help you. It's always free to the candidate. So get in touch with Will, Sydney, or Kelsey at 662-832-5138 or check out their new and improved website, servicespecialistltd.com. Get the beautiful and healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. Schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself at corinthdental.com. Are you a displaced corporate executive wanting to put your career in your own hands? Are you an experienced entrepreneur looking to diversify? Either way, Andy Ludicky can help. He owns multiple franchises and businesses, uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy, put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free. You got nothing to lose. Contact Andy anytime at andy@myperfectfranchise.net or at 404-973-9901.
So, let's jump into it. Baseball over the weekend. Again, I feel like I started to write this morning, and I went a different way with the thing. I feel kind of like that scene in A Few Good Men when they go to they're starting the case, and the one guy goes up there and he says, "Hey, is this said whatever?" And did you hear this? And I think it's Kevin Bacon walks up and goes, "Look, we'll go ahead and admit that no one that he brings up here is going to hear that if he also admits that these two people were not ever in that room. And can we just get that out of the way so both of us don't bring 50 people up here to argue the same thing?" Because I felt like that was so much of what was going on was this disclaimer of, it's early. It's early. Hey, 3 games. 3 of 56. They haven't even been home yet. They're 4 time zones away. You've got all these disclaimers that can be coming into this conversation, and they're all incredibly relevant. They really are. But it's also what we have to go on, and it is a continuation of last season. It is a mindset change because, I was thinking back, and you're coming off that 22 season, the national title, and everybody's excited and all those different things. And they won a bunch of games in the non-con, as we had talked about, but the starting pitching was not very good. They had issues, but they just kept beating up on the Big Ten teams, and you went, oh, okay, we'll see what this looks like. Well, that benefit of the doubt's gone because you had the bad season. You went 25-29. You went 6-24. Frankly, you had a very difficult 22 season, but you got in and then made the most of it once you got in. So all those things are a bit of a flounder effect on what we saw over the weekend. And, even I'll give Mike credit for this. Brad Henderson, who's the play-by-play guy for Ole Miss baseball, the color commentator for Ole Miss baseball, and he's doing his job. He goes, you traveled across the country and all this stuff, and kind of tried to give him a excuse in a way. And Mike goes, I'd love to say that, but we won the first 2 games. We were 2-0. We fell apart after we had been here longer and adjusted, and that had nothing to do with it. He took that ownership. And when you look at every phase of the game, it was not good enough. Because I wrote on Saturday that I thought Hawaii was just good enough to be a mirror opponent for Ole Miss, and that it was about you. If you played well, you beat Hawaii. If you didn't play well, they were going to beat you. And if you just played okay, it was going to be a very competitive game. And I think that's who they are. I think Hawaii is a top 100 team that's not a top 50 team. They're not an SEC team. They don't have elite arms. They don't hit the ball out of the ballpark, but they're very fundamentally sound. They run. They'll fundamental you to death in a lot of ways, and they play good baseball, and they have a damn good coach in Rich Hill. And it's kind of what I thought they were, and it's still what I think when the series ended. And I'll be quick. You can read about it at Rebel Grove. But to go through the different parts of this thing, Ole Miss had, for the most part, 6 to 7 new starters in the offensive lineup. A lot of portal guys, freshman Campbell Smithwick or JUCO transfer Eli Birch at catcher. And at the end of the weekend, 4 games. Small sample size, but still 4 games. They had 2 players who hit at least 250 or better for the weekend. That was it. Ethan Leje was incredible. He hit 5-something. His Bo Gatlin's got an OPS of 2,000 through 2 games. He was good. Ethan Groff was fine. Everybody else was bad. Everybody else was bad offensively. They finished, I've got it up somewhere, but I off the top of my head, they were 9 for 63 with runners on base over the 4 games. They were 7 for 43 with runners in scoring position over the 4 games. Those are horrific numbers. I think that, using walks and hit by pitches, Hawaii allowed something like 25 free base runners over the 4 games, and Ole Miss still just couldn't score and couldn't add on and couldn't do things. Ole Miss was outscored 23-5 over the last 2 games after going 2-0. Got really fortunate with a line drive double play that they got out of the 9th inning on Friday night, or else, and it counts, but or else you're already down 0-1 in the series right there before that happens. And then yesterday, 6 errors, won by every member of the defensive infield, catcher, first base, second base, shortstop, and third base, including Fisher at third, making 2. It was a complete fall apart, and I thought Mike's quote was really interesting. He gave this after the game last night, pulling it up now to try to find it if I have it somewhere, and I can't get it to pop up. But either way, the gist was that he's never seen a team lose confidence and composure like that in the middle of a game in 24 years. So they couldn't throw, they couldn't catch, and they sort of fell apart. And I get that it's a new team, and I get you're in a portal era and you're all that kind of stuff. But you were at Hawaii. You were the better team. It's not like they had some crazy environment. And I couldn't watch it. I'm only listening on the radio, so I'm only hearing Eli Savoy and Brad Henderson as they're going through this. But at the same time, I go, I don't really get what causes that. You were fine. Like, why the freak out? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I wonder in some ways it's, these portal guys come in with huge expectations and it kind of falls apart and it gets by you and it just sort of unravels on you because you don't have a lot of continuity. Nobody's played together. Nobody's done anything. It's in a strange place. And then it's also coming after what ended up being very poor statistical starting pitching. And I think that's the biggest thing. I can rattle on forever on what I saw, and I know I'm rambling. You can guide me back in a second. But the starting pitching is where I look up and pause and go, that's what last season and caused the problem. Ole Miss had 4 starts this weekend. They went 13 innings. Do the math. That is barely 3 innings per start. They went 3.1, 3.2, 2, and 4 for the 4 starts over the weekend. Now, I like some of the bullpen guys. I thought Ole Miss had 7 pitchers over the weekend that were really good. I thought 7 were excellent, and you can use those, and they did things over the weekend. None of those were starters. None of those were people who started games. And when you're having that type of difficulty already and you're getting into the bullpen, you're just not playing baseball. You're just chasing your tail. And that's what happened over the course of the weekend. And that's what they got to work on because, look, it's only going to get harder from there. Iowa's better. And then the SEC is just a freaking bear. You look around. Some teams lost games. But unless I'm missing somebody, and maybe I did, I'll go look through stats. I have not done that. I thought Ole Miss was the only team that simply did not look composed and like a team that had a little bit higher of a ceiling. I predicted 14-16, and again, 4 games. But when I look at it, they just kind of have holes everywhere where I'm not sure exactly what you do inside the season to fix it.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to really comment at all. You watched and listened. I didn't, and I didn't pay any attention to any other college baseball anywhere else. Just because other things were going on. It's all the caveats are true. It's awfully early, nerves, a lot of travel, all of those things. I do come back to this, the one thought that I've had about this team and this new era of college baseball that we're in, because we're in a new era of everything right now with college sports. And that is, I think on the message board, somebody was questioning something about whatever, and you made a great analogy, I thought. If you have $1,000 and I have $1,000 and you need 8 things and I need 1 thing, I'm going to get the high ticket item. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to bargain shop some. You're going to have to go to TJ Maxx a little bit. You're going to have to run over to, is Kmart still a thing? You're going to have to go to Target. You're going to have to go to some places. There's going to be a few areas where you're going to have to get something and fix it up to make it look nice. Development's going to matter. And so it's early in the season, and development is absolutely going to matter. The starting pitching thing is obviously if that's who they are over the course of the season, it's going to be a really long season. You'll wear a bullpen out, it won't work. But I'm not gonna write off a starter because a starter had 1 bad outing. I mean, that. And you're right, man. These portal guys and stuff, the first time is they feel all this pressure. They want to produce. They want to justify. They're trying to acclimate quickly. It's a long season. There's a lot there. I mean, it is certainly conceivable, though, to your point, that you and I are both ceiling and floor guys. It's conceivable that this team is one that doesn't have a super high ceiling, that, and that the floor might be a little deeper than what people thought. It's too early to know that, but it's possible. It's also possible that they come home and they get comfortable and they get on a little bit of a roll and they build some confidence, and they're going to need it heading into league play because the league's really good. I don't have to watch games or look at scores to know that the league's really good. The league's really talented. All you got to do is look at a couple of mock drafts, and you know that the league is really talented. Yeah. And so, they were one line drive on Friday from after issues, and some of those issues popped up in weekend number one. And frankly, if I'm Mike and that coaching staff, I'd rather the issues pop up now. I don't want to kid myself into thinking, hey, we're going into league play and we've got this kind of gaudy non-league record and we're good, right? We're good, right? And then you go into league play and you're like, no, we're not. We got problems. I'd rather see those problems now and experiment a little and address and try to figure it out. Because if you're going to do the tournament thing, the tournament's going to come down to what you do in the 30 SEC games. It always has. It always will. You can't just take the pipe in the non-league. But, look, if you go 17-13 in the SEC, 16-14 in the SEC, you're getting in the tournament. I don't care what you did in the non-league. I don't care. So it's going to come down to those 30 games, and you've got, 3-4 weeks before those games roll around. So now's the time to figure out where your deficiencies are and whether or not you have the resources to patch them up.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the conversation in the stream. I mean, it's kind of become the new, can he get to Omaha? What do you do with Mike? It's how do you elaborate? How do you judge that 22 season? And no, you're not taking away from the title. You're not taking away from the run they had. But it also, Keith Carter would not be doing his due diligence when he's judging the program to not go, hey, that was pretty lucky they got in. Again, all the ifs. If this season doesn't go well, that's 3 regular seasons in a row that did not go well, which is a sample size to consider. So, no, you're not. Yes. Look, they get the ring. They won the title. But when you're judging the program, you can't have that myopic of a view. You have to look bigger than that and go, no, okay, this is where they were. This is what happened. This is the whole deal. Because, look, it's the great alternate history. We love all the stuff like that. We do it on the podcast all the time. We talk about Drew Brees and Houston Nutt and Nick Saban and whatever. It's the Mike Bianco went above all Mike Bianco. It used to be, hey, what if Stephen Head had hit the ball over the wall? What if Evan Button had made the play? All those type of things. Now, it's not. It's if they don't get in, Mike's fired. He literally is out that week. Trust me, read a book on it. He's out that week. They've got a new coach in for last season. Last season, they wouldn't have had a ton of talent. It would have been kind of a weird deal, and you've got going in whatever. Instead, they get in. Mike and his team maximize it. Credit to you. You turn into the second highest paid coach in the country, the first highest paid coach in the country out of public schools, that's behind Vanderbilt. And then everything else runs from there to where it is the conversation we're having today, because in a worst-case scenario, you're financially struck where you just kind of riding this thing no matter what. So, it is a fascinating 3 weeks from 2022 that has set so many different thoughts and opinions into motion in so many different ways.
Yeah, 100%. Look, that 2022 team is the Major League Baseball equivalent of a team getting in as the last wild card by winning 10 in a row to finish the season. Get in as the last wild card and they're just super hot and they go on and win the World Series. It's a miracle. It doesn't change the fact that you look up at the end of the year and you're like, that team won 82 games. They were that was not a great team, and that was not a great Ole Miss team. It got super hot. It made for a phenomenal story and all of that stuff. But yeah, the regular season happened and they weren't very good. Were they 13-17, 12-18? What was it? 13?
14-16. They got to 14.
14. So they got in, didn't do anything in Hoover, lost the first night, they're out. You know the rest. Here's the other part of this story. Whether you're talking about building around Mike Bianco or whoever's after Mike Bianco at some point down the road, and you and I talked about this on Sunday, I think, for a few minutes. You got a pie, an NIL pie, and I hate that word. It's become a salary pie. You've got an athlete salary pie. How much of it do you spend on sports that aren't called football? You got to answer that question. Because if the answer is, well, not much, okay, then you got to lower your expectations in these other sports. You got to understand that. You're not going to get guys to come to Ole Miss if they're going to get offered more to go to fill in 5 SEC schools. I don't care, whichever ones you want to name. You know, like I was reading some angst around Oklahoma about baseball. You know, since they lost to Ole Miss in the 2022 finals, they've been fairly shitty. And they don't have any money in it. Well, then you're not going to win. If you and I walk into a jewelry store together and I've got a bunch of money and you don't have any, I'm getting the best jewelry. It's just where we are. It's the basketball issue at Ole Miss that it's gonna come up in the next few weeks. I mean, because listen, if jobs open, and they will, it is my fairly educated opinion that Chris Beard's name's going to come up. And one of the questions that you have to ask if you're Chris Beard is there enough salary available here to buy players to compete at the highest level? And I don't know the answer to that. That's a his question. But it's an Ole Miss baseball thing too. Right now, you're putting a lot of money into football, and it's paying off. You're going into a season as a top 7 team, realistically. I mean, you are considered by almost everyone to be a playoff team in 2024. And you've got the resources from a salary structure, player salaries. You've got the resources to support that. Is there enough left over to do other things? And that's the new in the past or whatever, but the past, man, I would argue that the past, like all the stuff that he did in the first 15, 18, whatever years of building rosters, I would say that those conversations are obsolete now. You can go ahead and write a history book about them. Now you're paying players. It's not 11.7 anymore. That's part of it, but it's not all of it. And so you look around at the programs that are building powerhouses. It's NIL for the most part. They did. They said, hey, we need these players to win a championship. They went and got them, and they won a championship. Mm-hmm. Now everyone's going to try to do that.
It's what LSU did. No, it's what teams are doing right now. It's what Florida has done without winning the championship, but they're still doing the same damn thing. Arkansas has a lot of money. I mean, it's not a coincidence that when I was talking to Mark Etheridge several weeks ago, he said there are 6 SEC teams who have a floor of a super regional. If they don't achieve that, they failed on the year. All those except for Vanderbilt have very high NILs, and Vanderbilt is its machine in its own way and hasn't completely come down from the old system yet. They still have a lot of residuals coming that, I mean, look, I think if you wanted to relatively sell some Vanderbilt stock, I'd probably agree with you as the next couple of years move on. But that doesn't mean their talent depleted right now in any way. It's just kind of where we're sitting, and it's the deal there. So, yeah, look. All those things are true, and we'll see that when SEC plays. What would worry you about this was that just because it's this all-new roster and you got all this stuff going on and they just freaked out because they are 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids in Hawaii over the weekend. But at no point also was Hawaii the more talented team. Ole Miss wasn't playing Tennessee or LSU or South Carolina over the weekend. I bet Hawaii doesn't have any NIL. So, and that's the thing, too, is they were the by far more talented, polished team with players who had played a ton more baseball, and they're the ones that freaked out in the final 2 games of the series. And the question now for Mike is why, and what do we do about it, and how do we fix it moving forward into Wednesday? So,
and then look, I'll say this: you probably don't want to. I will. The whole fire the coach thing. He's got a pretty significant buyout. I'm just guessing that in today's era of college athletics, that over there they don't just have several $1 million laying around to write a check to a coach to go away. It's not realistic. And the championship did happen. Mm-hmm. He won a championship. They won a championship. They did. It doesn't. Yeah, they got in as a 3 seed on the road and all that stuff, but they won. The banner's up forever. No one's going to take it away, and there is a financial reward that comes with that anywhere in the country. So the people that criticize Keith for giving a contract, I mean, I get it, but everybody would do that. I mean, if Florida won the national championship this year, they'd give O'Sullivan more money. Mm-hmm. They'd probably give him a new deal. If Vitello wins a championship at Tennessee, they're gonna write up a new deal.
Yeah.
I mean, just that's the way it is. It's sports are result oriented. Sports are scoreboard business. And Mike finished 22 is what 64 teams make that tournament. Only one walks out a winner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Texas Rangers are not giving Bochy a raise off what he did in the regular season. He won the World Series.
He won the whole thing. That's it. They're not punishing him for they choked in September.
Yeah,
they didn't choke in October, and I guess I'll credit Houston Nutt loosely here. They remember October.
They do. Yes,
they do. So, and in college baseball, you remember June when it happens. Yeah. And Ole Miss had one hell of a June that year.
Yeah. So. All right, we'll be back in a second with Northeast Spark, NESPARC. Service people across rural communities, 2 packages, the Ignite, the 100 Mbps, or the Blaze, the 1 gig that powers the Clark Ford studio. Your hometown team bringing you world-class broadband. That's NESpark.com, 662-238-3159. Phone service, parental controls, network security, and much more. So call the office for details. Again, that's the best internet in Lafayette County. That's 662-238-3159.
Southern Traditions Farm is a 68-acre, 32-stall upscale equestrian training and boarding facility in Canton, Mississippi. 2 sand rings, a grass ring, miles of wooded trails, a lot offered at Southern Traditions, including horseback riding offerings. From beginner lessons to advanced to competing in nationally recognized competitions. It's also a great venue for corporate outings, reunions, that type of thing. So get in touch with them on Facebook or Instagram at Southern Traditions Farm. And we're brought to you by Art Hayes of Sotheby's International Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, put the power of Sotheby's International Realty to work for you. As a licensed agent with Sotheby's International Realty and a supporter of all things Ole Miss, Art can help you buy or sell in your hometown or anywhere in the world at no charge to you. Seriously. So call and ask Art how that's done. 612-805-5929 or email him at arthur.hayes, Hays, at lakesmn.com.
Podcast also brought to you by G&M Pharmacy. That's 662-236-2222 in Oxford or 662-252-2321 for Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs. They deliver locally in the Oxford area, and they offer MedSync. 3 prescriptions the same day each month. Take care of you. 1 trip to the pharmacy, 1 delivery. You have everything you need when you need it with G&M. Again, that is 662-236-2222 for G&M in Oxford. And then Tyson Drugs in Holly Springs, 662-252-2321. Did you watch a ton of All-Star game last night, I assume?
I watched a good bit of it. I watched into the second half, and then I turned it off. I was kind of bored with it after a while. And I know everyone does they've got to fix it. They've got to fix it. No, they don't. It's just an exhibition.
I guess here's my question on it. And I kind of agreed with The Athletic this morning is, it's whatever. It's an all-star game. I'm not losing sleep over it. But they made a good point. Who's the game even for? Why are we even doing it at this point other than we've always done it? Because, frankly, it's not compelling to a single demographic out there anymore. Not one.
It's for the players. It's just a reward for the players. The league has never been more talented. Making the all-star team has never meant more to your resume. And so they play the game. But
we're bringing up G League players to even fill the dunk contest.
Yeah. Well, that's all that stuff. I don't know how you'd even invent a new dunk now. Every dunk's been dunked. The 3-point shooting thing was the deal with Sabrina versus Steph was fun. The Rising Stars competition was fun. I actually enjoyed it. It was they played to 50 and then 25 or whatever, and I liked it. It was fun to watch. But like LeBron said last night, and he's right. He is right. The good news, nobody got hurt. You don't want those guys. When I say you, fans do. But if I'm Sam Presti, I don't want Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going 100 miles an hour in the All-Star game defending Damian Lillard to try to win for the West and risk getting hurt before the final 27, 28 games of the regular season. So, and when you don't guard NBA superstars, they're going to score a gazillion points. Because those guys, they don't miss shots. Those guys don't miss open shots. So when you have a lineup that includes Kevin Durant and Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and LeBron James going against a defense that's kind of letting them go, yeah, they're going to score. If you don't guard Damian Lillard, hell, if you do guard Damian Lillard, he's going to score. But if you don't guard him, so you get games like last night, it was, I don't know, everybody does the whole thing about it. It's a break in the season for the players, and the All-Star game's it's just an exhibition of offensive excellence. And that's what it's become over the years. And I just think the other thing was last night was kind of a blowout late, right? So there was no real incentive for people to dial it up. Sometimes in those games, it's real close. And last 6-7 minutes of the game, they actually start to really play basketball, and it's real high level. I don't think you got that last night.
Yeah. It's fair. See Rick Pitino go crazy yesterday?
No, I did not.
He is Red Storm. He's at St. John's, lost 68-62 to Seton Hall on Saturday or Sunday. I don't know which one. Sunday. And here are a sampling of his quotes. Do we have shitty facilities? Yes, we do. Having shitty facilities has nothing to do with not guarding. Look, Joel's slow laterally. He's not fast on the court. Chris Ludlam is slow laterally. Sean Conway is slow laterally. Brady's physically weak. Drissa's slow laterally. We lost this season the way we recruited. They don't align with how I coach. We recruited the antithesis of the way I coach with speed, quickness, fundamental strength, and toughness. It's a good group. They try hard. They're just not very tough. I'm just going to get ready for Georgetown because Georgetown can definitely beat us.
He's talking to his team.
I mean, sure, by saying you crappy collection of people that I brought in here to play for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have failed me.
Yeah, correct. This is a you problem, actually, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is on you. I brought you in, and you have failed. That's a you problem. Yeah.
He's always done this. I mean, he's the same guy that when he was with the Celtics, he basically did the, hey, Larry Bird's not walking through that door thing when they asked him about the talent for Boston.
He wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, no NBA tenure was ended more by a lottery ball, a ping pong ball, than Pitino's. I mean, It's a different. They get Tim Duncan.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Duncan's a Celtic, and his tenure goes differently. Drew Brees is a Dolphin, and Nick Saban's Dolphins tenure looks a lot different. I mean, there's a lot of that. It's still a players' league, man.
I know the computers picked Houston, and they have Houston the number one team with all the metric stuff. But did you see the way UConn annihilated Marquette? Give me the Huskies.
Oh, we had this conversation the other day. I think I'm all.
They beat Marquette by 25.
Yeah, they're a beast when they play well. Houston's got Iowa State tonight, I think.
That is correct. Yep.
In Ames.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa State's sneaky good.
Yeah, that's one to watch. I mean, tonight's a pretty light night overall.
It's just such a fringe sport, man. It's become such a niche sport. There was a time
like college basketball.
Yeah, college.
But it's at your point. Everything's niche except for football.
That was my point, right? I go back to the salary thing. The questions that not just Ole Miss but every program must answer is: here's the pie, round pie. You can call it a pizza if you want to. You can call it whatever pie suits your fancy, chocolate cream, whatever the hell it is. How much of that are you giving to football? Okay, now cut that out. This is what's left. How do you divide that up? And frankly, in this world, with football being so big, how do you not necessarily justify just handing the whole damn pie to football?
If you believe that you can achieve the level that makes it financially feasible, yes.
Yeah. I mean, now you commit all that pie to football and then they don't win, you have a disaster. Like in a world where Ole Miss goes 6-6 next season, it's a disaster. I mean, it is abject failure. It is everything gets reevaluated. I mean, it is a complete. I mean, it is nuclear wasteland if you do that. And some schools are going to look at it and go, the football thing, man, it's just not really feasible. And so let's take enough of that pie to be quasi-competitive, and then let's take more pie and put it into basketball or baseball or whatever the case may be, and let's try to be competitive there, and then see if we can justify it. I don't know those answers, but that is the new era. You have figure out how you do it. And, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I guess a generation ago when I was a kid, I mean, college basketball was big. People locked into college basketball. The Sunday Big Ten game and all that stuff. That was a regular part of your viewing. I just don't think it's that way anymore.
One last Ole Miss thing before we close for the day. As people are aware, if you're on Twitter, I think I put it on the message board to some extent too. Ole Miss was in Navy all weekend because Nike has been dreadfully slow and they're way behind with getting uniforms to teams. The Super Bowl impacted this. Beyond that, I don't know what else has impacted this, but apparently it's really bad. Ole Miss has only had Navy. I think they got their pinstripes in, but they weren't ready to go before they had to leave for Hawaii. LSU is without jerseys. Clemson has been without jerseys. I know they got their purples in over the weekend just in time for their game. And I don't know how downstream, but something tells me if the last two national champions and SEC teams are without jerseys, there's a lot of freaking teams downstream that are without jerseys at that point.
David, jersey issues probably.
Yeah, my guess is yes. It's hit softball as well. Somebody told me on Saturday night, not giving credit, I just don't know if he wants his name out there, that softball has been told that one of their jerseys may not be here until April. So it is a big time deal. Some cleats are behind. There have been some teams that have literally gone to local department stores to try to find cleats that work under the contract. So yeah, and what's frustrating for a lot of teams is that you can get the retail side, so like they can go sell all the jerseys, but they can't get the team side to provide the team with the jersey. It's a different department. It's a different way that Nike works, but apparently it's been a big deal. So we'll see. I don't know. My hunch is Ole Miss has pins on Wednesday.
All of the major league teams are pissed off about the new fabric of the jersey. They hate it.
They look cheap. They don't look good.
No, they look terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes, well, you'll get used to it. I'm like, but it looks like crap. Why would you get used to something that looks? No, you're not.
It doesn't. The symmetry or something is off on the back too. It just doesn't. It doesn't look like the name and the numbers are in the right places. I'm not a visual person, so I don't know how to explain it. I just know when it's wrong.
They moved the logo from the very top of the back collar down closer to the nameplate, and that meant that they had to shrink the nameplate. And so guys that have like a long name, like Goldschmidt or something, I mean, you can barely read the names. It's terrible. I mean, and the easy answer is, hey, this didn't work, go back. But they're doing the stubborn thing of, no, you're going to learn to like this.
So if Ole Miss has blues, they have pins, that means they don't have all the reds in, they don't have powder, and they don't have the cream, to the best of my knowledge, would be what is the situation as they move into the week. I know at one point they were told March 1st, which would be the third weekend, but I think there's been a lot of pushback to that, and my guess is it happens a little sooner. Because, look, I mean, I feel, all jokes aside about what you have on or the fans are getting all worked up, from a manager standpoint, that's washing clothes constantly over the course of these weekends. I mean, that turns the workload into a completely different animal. So, I mean, in all seriousness, there are some tangible things that matter here beyond just simply joking around about what jersey or what color you're going to wear over the weekend. But they were not doing an homage to the 2022 national title team by wearing navy all weekend. It was just what they had available. Okay, so they wore it and dealt with it the best they could.
What do the teams do that have no jerseys?
I don't know.
Football team?
I know there have been some softball teams because, look, I mean, Ole Miss is used to baseball having resources. They don't worry about last year to next year in the same way. Like, I know some other teams were able to put together stuff they had left over from previous years and kind of make stuff work in that way, but that's not a reality that normally would be the case here. Last thing, most random thing ever on Friday night, I guess you missed this unless you saw it on Twitter, is I turn on the stream and I'm kind of, by the way, the play-by-play and color guys were really good for Hawaii. They didn't get all the facts right, but they were fun and whatever. And they're both, Richard had said they're ESPN guys that were there. It was a regional sports network, not Hawaii employees. But Todd Gurley throws out the first pitch before the Ole Miss Hawaii game on Friday night. Didn't have that on my bingo card, the former Rams running back. he was just in Hawaii, so he was hanging out and had the Hawaii jersey on. They put him in the booth for a half inning. He knew crap about everything, but it was cool. It was fine. And my favorite part, and I put this quote out on Twitter. Somebody goes, they asked Todd, "Hey, so why are you here?" And he was like, "Oh, well, I met this dude at the Lakers game. He's a really good friend of mine. We're really tight. I've known him a couple weeks." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay." So you met some rich dude courtside of the Lakers game. He said, "Hey, I own a resort in Hawaii. Why don't you come hang out for a week?" And Todd said, "Okay." That's kind of the way that went, I think. But either way, he was on the island. I was just kind of barely watching. I thought, that's Todd Gurley, and sure enough, it was Todd Gurley throwing out the first pitch for the Rebels and the Rainbow Warriors.
How come things like that don't happen to you and me? Why is that? No one ever says, "You know what? I've got this resort in Hawaii. Come spend a week." That doesn't happen.
I don't think we're in the right rooms or the right sections, are we? We're lacking a proximity deal in some ways, I think. I
don't ever get that.
Yeah, to this. So anyway. All right, rebelgrove.com. I talk about baseball. We got basketball covers. Neil's 10 thoughts up from yesterday as well, and we'll lead into the weekend again. Ole Miss and Mississippi State Wednesday night from Starkville, and then baseball and basketball home next weekend. Ole Miss basketball, South Carolina. Ole Miss baseball, High Point, and their home opener, Arkansas State, on Wednesday afternoon, 4 o'clock, first pitch for the Rebels and the Rev Wolves. So take care, have a good day, and we will talk to you again very soon.